Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Marjon live talk for the course of Outdoor Learning in Early Years and Primary Education. My name's Kari. I'm one of the student recruitment team here at Marjon, and my role today is just to be on board to help out and to look after our Q&A box as well. So if you do have any questions as we're going through, please do pop them in the Q&A box that is available on your screen. And what we'll do is we'll collate them and then we'll ask them after the presentation. We're also joined today by Saren, who is a second year on the Outdoor Adventure Education course, and also Abigail, who is one of our master students in Outdoor Adventure Education and also teaches across our Outdoor Adventure Education courses. Because the course is new, we don't have current student ambassadors on it, but both of the girls who are joining us today are really knowledgeable and have worked with Sue really closely over the last few years. What I will do now is hand you over to Sue, who is the programme lead for this course, and she can tell you lots more about it. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you. Good morning. So welcome to the Marjon Alive Open Day. And hopefully you'll be able to visit other talks as well, and not only this one. So I'd like to welcome you to the BA Honours in Outdoor Learning and Early Years and Primary Education. So I'm going to talk just to introduce the course to you, to tell you a bit about Marjon, tell you a bit about Plymouth. So BA Honours, Outdoor Learning, Early Years and Primary Education. As Kari said, I am Sue Porter. I'm the programme leader for this course. We are based within the Institute for Education, so mixed with a range of other education students and other education staff. You know, after the talk, you'll be able to find further information sort of on our website. So there's course information on the website as well that you can visit, and also we have a Facebook page, and if you search Marjon Outdoor Learning, you know, we will keep those areas current for you as well. So why come to Marjon? So a little bit about the Marjon community and who we are. We're a smaller university, and small is beautiful. So we build personal relationships. We work with small groups of students, and we work closely with our students. Marjon has a long history of education. So Marjon this year is celebrating 180 years of being Marjon. So a lot, you know, long history of education within that. Lot of teaching and teaching in that area. We have a range of resources, range of staff, range of spaces. We are, you know, a campus university. We have lots of green space around us and green space within our locality. Lots of and a range of resources that you're able to make use of within your teaching and learning. And above all else at Marjon's, of course, students come first, because it is your degree. You're here, you'll be coming to Marjon to study with us and to achieve a degree. So students, that's you as students, always come first. Other reasons to come to Marjon, just look at where we are. Look at where we are within, you know, within the southwest. Very close to the coast, very close to woodland, very close to Dartmoor. So woodland, beaches, Dartmoor National Park, all on our doorstep, all, you know, really accessible. And we work quite closely in groups. This will be quite a practical, experiential programme. So there's a real chance to make some really good friends, meet with people and share your, you know, who share your interests. So a lifetime there of friends and adventures. If you're not sure where we are, here we are on a map. Yes, you can see our proximity to the sea, our proximity to the moor within Devon. Throughout the presentation, there's a range of photographs that have been taken locally, maybe photographs of our students actually participating in outdoor learning. So you've shown an interest in and I want to study outdoor learning. So what is outdoor learning all about? So this is taken from the Council for Learning Outside the Classroom, and it really is learning outside the classroom. Any space outside the classroom where learning can take place. So that might just be within the school grounds, maybe locally to the school, it might be urban outdoor learning, and then it may be further afield. So, you know, it could be a short time outside the classroom, could be for a day, could be for longer, could be residential experiences, but anything that is any learning that takes place outside the classroom. So here we have students down at the beach, working in that area, maybe taking part in art, you know, exploring the beach, looking at maybe a litter pick and maybe art from that, and beginning to understand, well, you know, where does that come from? What implications does that have? So why outdoor learning? What's important about outdoor learning? And I think the key words here are not only that it's all learners every week and all year round, no matter what the weather, but the key words here are the fact that it is powerful. Outdoor learning is powerful. It's about raising attainment, social, emotional and personal development, and it contributes to the health and well-being of young people and children. Yeah, and there's plenty of research, you know, has been undertaken into the power of outdoor learning, and so, you know, this isn't guesswork. These are, you know, there is research out there that has shown that, you know, it has raised attainment, you know, that it makes a difference with regards to personal and social emotional development. Okay, so importance of outdoor learning. Again, so students taking part in actual experiential activities, learning about outdoor learning. So maybe physical literacy within that. Again, back at the beach, learning about, okay, so, you know, one of the issues of today is, you know, that plastics pollution. So learning about the cycles around that. We work with a couple of national organisations. We have the Institute for Outdoor Learning. I'm not going to go to their website, but, you know, there's a website you can explore and find out more about outdoor learning. We work with the Council for Learning Outside the Classroom. And again, you can explore their website. Hopefully, I'm just going to show a short video here that the Council for Learning Outside the Classroom have put together that just gives you a little bit more about that research around outdoor learning. So we can see from the statistics there, the high numbers there, that actually, you know, what does outdoor learning, you know, give to young people? And of course, there was a mix of ages there as well, so a range of, you know, fieldwork opportunities. And I know that this degree is focusing on early years, the early years and primary education. So early years, and here's an example of, let's learn about where our food comes from. Potatoes don't just come out of a tin, you know, we do grow them in the ground, and tomatoes also don't just come out of a tin. So by planting the seeds, we can see where those have come from, and we can plant those seeds within that early years of education. So looking at the key aspects of early years education, what are we developing in early years education? Just looking at communication and language, just ask yourselves, can we develop these? Can we teach these outdoors? What activities might we do to develop, you know, these key areas of early years education outside? Taking that literacy outside, maybe describing things, maybe writing things, looking at maths, looking at shape, counting, numbers, understanding the world, you know, around us, looking at perhaps some of those life cycles. Some aspects of education lend themselves more quickly, more easily to the outdoors. Some we might have to think a little bit more about, but it is possible in the, you know, through the outdoors, you know, to develop the above. Playing, exploring, active learning, creating and thinking critically, asking questions, being curious. We want, you know, not only you as students to be curious, but, you know, through education, young people to be curious. And then the second focus is primary education. And within the primary curriculum, the national curriculum states that the primary curriculum will promote the spiritual, moral, cultural, mental and physical development of all pupils at the school and of society, and prepares pupils at the school for the opportunities, responsibilities and experiences of later life. Again, asking ourselves the question, can we do that through the outdoors? What part may outdoor learning play, you know, within this? The government says that the schools are free to choose how they organise their school day as long as they cover the national curriculum. Yeah, so again, some subjects will lend themselves, you know, more to the outdoors more easily. Some we may think about, but we can take again geography outdoors, maths outdoors, English outdoors, maybe not all of it, but certainly some of it. Aspects of all of those subjects, all the subjects can be taken outdoors. Here you might want to look at science and science outdoors. This is on Dartmoor, and this stone where the water is shooting through is called a bullseye stone, and it's all to do with the release of water, and it's all to do with stopping flooding. So looking at science, and perhaps looking at nature as art, a fallen tree, and what have you know, and the way in which we might see that fallen tree. And not only is that fallen tree art, that fallen tree is a habitat in the local woodland. So again, plenty to explore through outdoor learning. So we hope that you'll want to come, you know, and study with us at Marjon. So when you're considering your application and applying to study with us, your personal statement, you know, is just as important as the grades, as the information you give there. So a personal statement that really tells us about you, tells us about your passion, your interests, you know, that tells us a bit about you, your extracurricular activities. You may have been involved with bushcraft, you may have been involved in a youth movement, Scouts, Guides, Duke of Edinburgh's Award. You may have volunteered at a local school, worked with local primary schools. Any of that, you know, is really important, as are your grades. And if you don't need to, you know, taking notes, whatever, but having a look on the website, the grades are there. So, but you have it, there's a range of access opportunities. It's not just about A levels, it could be BTEC or equivalent qualifications, such as through an access course, access to higher education. Yeah, with that. So, but with the GCSEs and the change in grades from letters to numbers, we ask for an English language at grade 4, which is equivalent to grade C or above. There are different modes of study as well. So some you might want to study full-time or part-time. Those options are there. And if you want to talk about that application, talk about those study options, then talk to us. My email was at the beginning and also here. So sporter@marjon.ac.uk. Talk to us, ask questions, feel free to do that. So what's the course going to look like? We've had a lot of background. What does it look like? So in higher education, we have 3 levels, level 4, 5 and 6 are undergraduate. So level 4 is your year 1. Anything that says EPO here is specific to our outdoor learning course. But you also have the opportunity to share your studies with the PRU modules here, to be working with other education students. So we have modules that are bespoke to us and modules that we share, which is a great opportunity to mix with other students on other courses and to share ideas, and promote learning across Marjon. So there are a range of modules. So in the first year, every student undertakes learning at Marjon, but learning about studying at higher education. It is different to being in school. It is different and becomes more independence and building your independence here. So learning at Marjon. So every student undertakes a learning at Marjon module. And because you're studying within education, there's an introduction to education studies. What is it about education? So may not be necessarily bespoke early years prime, but very much about education, our lifetime of education. And practical elements to this, engaging with practice, so working in groups on projects. So we would have a project, an outdoor learning project, where you would be able to put, because this is the second semester, you would be able to put experiences from introduction to outdoor experiential learning into practice with groups. So working on projects there with real live people. So right from the first year, you get involved in practice. And then we have creative and inclusive practice as well. So that within that, looking how do we deliver? So delivering outdoor learning is about being creative. How do we take those elements, say, of maths outside or English outside or science outside? So being creative, but also being inclusive, including all learners, all abilities. So these are shared modules with other students, and then we have our bespoke modules, introduction to outdoor experiential learning. As I said, so you learn about what is it? Experiential. It is about your head, your heart, your hands, a whole body, maybe experience in that. Getting hands-on, getting feeling, being part of that. So having those experiences to reflect upon. And as I said, you might put into practice with engaging with practice. And the second module in the first year here is Dartmoor for outdoor learning. So we actually use Dartmoor. It's on our doorstep as a case study. And we go on to Dartmoor. So Dartmoor's history, Dartmoor's geology, Dartmoor's perhaps, the element of tourism within that and education practices, the element of people who live and work on Dartmoor. So using Dartmoor for outdoor learning. Okay, so a real introductory year at year 1. But as I say, that includes practical placement practice within that as well. As I said, these are all picture students getting involved in experiential learning, problem solving activities, team building activities. Moving into level 5, year 2, there are some options within this year, but you can see again, EPO is our bespoke modules for outdoor learning. So we have residential education, where we'll be asking students will be actually preparing a residential, being part of a residential, undertaking the residential planning the menus, the transport, the activities, the programme, all those elements behind it. So actually planning, delivering, being part of a residential experience here. Then the other bespoke outdoor learning modules we have that you all take part in, we have forest and beach schools. I'm sure some of you may have heard of Forest School, but maybe not so much about Beach School. But we will be investigating, exploring the work of both Forest School and Beach School and those environments for learning. And of course, more on inclusive outdoor learning and how might we be, fully inclusive in what we're delivering, again, within the outdoors. So there are 3 bespoke modules. Every student undertakes educational research. This is very much learning about research, how to do your own research, preparing you for year 3 when you will undertake a project of your own choosing, but in your own particular interest. You will also have the opportunity to do an experiential placement. This is not necessarily a school placement, but it will be a placement where you'll be able to work with young people. So it may not be formal education, it may be an more informal education placement. And then there is some choice here with these PRU modules, global childhoods or pedagogical paradigms. So you might want to look at global childhoods and choose to do that sort of more internationally, or look at the ways in which of teaching and learning in terms of pedagogical paradigms. So there is some choice at level 5 for you. More problem-solving activities. How did that dinosaur get built? How did they work out where all the pieces go? At level 6, so your final year, every student undertakes an education project. Every student, so that's what your research in the second year, the research methods module sort of leads towards this, understanding of research. And you have that opportunity to really investigate something that you're interested in, that you're quite passionate about. There are a greater number of options here, at level 6. But so outdoor learning modules specific, we have place-based outdoor education. So if we took Plymouth as a place to investigate, Plymouth has a maritime history, and so we could investigate that maritime history, which could then perhaps relate to the history projects in a primary school, or understanding the history, why Plymouth is there, what it is, what is important. So this importance of understanding some of our history, our culture, elements around this. As I said, there's a placement. This placement is a school placement. So perhaps it might be a more formal education placement. So, but there is, again, a placement here, that opportunity to gain that experience. And then we have options, and the option is that you choose 2 modules out of the 4. So you might want to look at early years specifically, and then perhaps combine that with outdoor food, communities, cultures and practice, the importance of food and food within our culture. Okay, so there are options, and it will be combining 2 of those modules, and you have some choice there. And of course, when you're on a residential, always good to sit round a fire and have a social time at the end of the day. So what might you do? There's academic potential for academic progression routes after those 3 years. You might go, actually, I'm really, I'm interested in studying. I want to take that further. So there is the opportunity to maybe go on and do a postgraduate diploma, or a master's that you might want to do, early years initial teacher training, postgraduate certificates in education. So you may wish to go on and actually I would like to become a primary school teacher now, or I would like to go into early years. So gaining a postgraduate certificate in education, there are ways in which you can do that. Or master's programs, masters in education, a master's in research for outdoor learning, masters in research for forest school, or you could do maybe an MA, the masters in business. If that may be an interest of yours to set up your own business. So there are a number of options and a number of options available. So what might you become? Yes, you might choose that you want to go into early years teaching. you might want to go into primary teaching, but that's not, you know, the be all and end all. This course does not give you QTS. You will need to go on to do a postgraduate certificate to become a qualified teacher. But you don't have to become a qualified teacher. There are so many other ways that we can get involved in outdoor learning. So it could be through an outdoor education centre, could be through a field studies centre, perhaps an education ranger. Education officers, you might be interested, you know, in that area of museums, education officer, perhaps with organisations like South West Water, yeah, who get involved in education of young people. So there are, you know, opportunities within that. And then might be a forest school leader. Or perhaps there's a bit offered you that you know, the opportunity to say do a master's in business, but you might want to set up your own business. And students from Marjon have gone on and set up their own businesses, and some, you know, may have gone to set up their own businesses, say it may be more tourism with outdoor adventure education, but there have certainly students from education who have gone on to set up their own businesses within the education field. So, and that could be outdoor learning or holiday orientated youth clubs, those sorts of things. So there are, it's really a real range of, you know, opportunities there. But if your choice, if you did think at the end, I would like to become a teacher, I would like to go into formal education, then you have to do that PGCE afterwards. More residential experiences. So in summary, what do we do here at Marjon? Our course, this course will be taught through, integrated through theory and practice. Yeah, and there's practice every year. Hands-on practice with partner organisations. We work with a number of schools and a number of outdoor organisations. We offer you fieldwork and placement to gain that personal experience and to have personal adventures. We have a well-equipped outdoor adventure centre on site, so you can make use of that equipment. So that may be forest school bushcraft type equipment. It may be more technical. Perhaps you would like to go camping, and so you'll be able to borrow tents and stoves. Yeah, perhaps you saw some of the pictures of cycling. Perhaps, you know, that's something you would like to do, mountain biking. We allow students to borrow that equipment, that more technical equipment. So you could borrow bikes and go off and explore, have adventures in your group. So you can make use of that equipment. We do offer National Governing Body Awards. So one of the awards associated with this programme would be Forest School Awards. But there could be the opportunity, if you are that way inclined, if you wanted to look at climbing, you could use the indoor climbing wall and go down that. It's more technical National Governing Body awards as well. So those are available to students, and we offer those to students. And above all else, of course, you're going to study, you're going to earn a degree, yeah, and earn that degree, hopefully enjoying your time learning with like-minded people. So our values, just to reiterate at Marjon, our values are about you and about you as students. The values of humanity, ambition, curiosity and independence, to build independent learners, to, you know, give you, it is about you, it's about the students, you know, the good education, so that you are, you know, you are ready and prepared to go out into that world of work and to be the best person, you know, that you can be. And of course we do study in a beautiful place. I'd like to thank you for listening. There are other live talks available to you. So I'll leave this slide up and you can see there may be, you know, opportunities. Have a look at that live talks that you can go to if you're looking at, you know, other aspects of what the university has to offer. Thank you.
Brilliant, thanks, Sue. Got a couple of questions for the ambassadors. So I'm going to come to Saren first, if you want to unmute yourself. Saren, you joined more recently, or kind of in the last couple of years. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about kind of that transition and how you were supported by the staff?
Yeah, absolutely. So overall, our lecturers have been so supportive from the transition, or from A-level to doing a degree. It was very different for me. I hadn't written an academic essay in 4 or 5 years. Like, I studied all sciences for A-level. So I was very nervous about actually how do I present that work and how does it sound like. But our lecturers were great. Anytime I needed help, I can always get a tutorial, and they support you through how your work should develop over the 2 years, 3 years of the degree.
Brilliant, thank you. And could I ask you another one? And just about kind of the Outdoor Adventure Centre, and have you been able to take advantage of any of the kind of resources available to you to go off and do your own things?
Absolutely, yeah. The Outdoor Adventure Centre is a great resource. I mainly use lots of the climbing gear, and it's great, really easy to access. You just email or knock on the door and say, can I take out these things? It's a quick sign-in sheet, sign-out sheet. You're able to use whatever you need. Lots of the time it's very flexible about how long you can have access to it as well before you need to return it.
Oh, brilliant, perfect. Thank you, Saren. And Sue, I'm going to come back to you quickly. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about kind of how the students will be assessed? Is it going to be exams? Is it written pieces? Is it practicals?
Okay, so there aren't any exams, and to which actually quite a lot of people often breathe a sigh of relief. It is very coursework based. It is very coursework related to your profession based as well. So there may be a range of tasks. There may be a portfolio that you put together that may be actually a range of tasks over a number of weeks. There will definitely be essays, and we will ask you to go away and investigate and research and write about something. There will also be presentations, because it is, again, if you're looking at going into working with people, we need to be able to present in front of people. So there will be presentations. So again, hopefully, the assessments are related not only to the degree, but the potential line of work as well that one might do.
Brilliant, thanks, Sue. And Abigail, I'm going to come to you next. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about how you found kind of the learning that's mixed with theory and practice? Has that worked nicely for you?
Yeah, I found it has worked really well for me, because it's all about my learning at Marjon. I very much felt that the lecturers really just want to empower you to learn yourself. It's very much not handed to you on a place. It's, here's some ideas, let's talk about it as a group, let's go and try something, see if it works. Does it work? Reflect on that. And we're just encouraged to, with that support network around, to really put what we're learning into practice and try things, and maybe try something out with our group and go, oh, that didn't really work, maybe I won't do that with a group of kids, and oh, that activity was really good, how can we reflect on that and learn from it. So I think the combination of the theory informing the practice has been brilliant, because you'll have lectures in which you'll learn the theoretical side of it, and then you'll go and do some independent reading and end up down lots of rabbit holes where you're reading lots of really cool information for hours, and then get to actually try those things out and practice them and learn from them.
Brilliant, thank you. And Saren, going back to you quickly, how have you found kind of the different learning experiences out on Dartmoor?
I've really enjoyed them. Lots of our practicals are based on extending the knowledge you get from lectures. So once we've learned about something in a lecture, we go out in practical, and it's really cool to see, actually, that is how you apply that, or, oh, we discussed that a few weeks ago, and now we can see it, and we get to engage in all the different aspects and really explore the history of Dartmoor. yeah, so it's a lot of fun, and I find it really interesting.
Great, thank you. And Sue, I'm going to come back to you for this one. We've had someone ask how much contact time there is, and I think probably each week's probably a good measure of that.
Yes, and each week will. Yes, it is. So the contact time is that I guess you study 3 modules per semester, and the contact time in the first year and the second year are probably at their greatest, and then in the third year, because we've empowered you and because we've grown and you've grown into independent learners, there's sort of less group contact time, but more perhaps one-to-one tutorial time with things like a project. But I would say contact time per week, you're probably looking at between 18 hours, 18 plus hours a week, but it varies because it really is a mix of practice and theory. So there may be, if you're looking in the first year developing a project, that you maybe develop that project maybe just for an hour a week for maybe 6 weeks, for a couple of hours a week, but then suddenly you're on the project and actually you're delivering that project every morning, maybe for 3 weeks or something. So what I will say it is not the same time, the same place every week, and actually people do, I think, need to be prepared for that actually there will be times when there's greater contact time because of the practical nature of what we're doing. So we won't just go out to Dartmoor for an hour, we will go out to Dartmoor maybe for 3, 4, 5 hours, at times. So it does vary.
Brilliant, thank you. And I've had another question come through as well. So you talked a little bit about the more technical aspects of things, and kind of the comparison of that to so learning about forest and beach school. Is there then a chance on the course to learn maybe a little bit more about rock climbing, look at some of the bigger adventures? Okay,
so the course is not focused on those bigger adventures. Okay, it is very much outdoor learning. There are opportunities for students to do that, but that would then run more alongside this programme. What I can say is there will be an opportunity to get out on the water, to taste the water, to have those water experiences, to be on the rock, to have those rock experiences. But there is not a module that's particularly focused on the skills of climbing or the skills of. However, we will use them, but what the students will get is opportunities above and beyond to follow those interests if they wish to.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think we've got Abigail, you want to say something on that, don't you? I'll pass over to Abigail.
I was just going to add that I think there's so many other opportunities that are alongside the degree. So I just wanted to mention about Marjon Adventure Sports Club. So it might not be you're covering it in the degree, but there's also the Marjon Adventure Sports Club, in which they meet paddling, they meet climbing. So it might be that you're not actually climbing in your degree, but every Tuesday, I think it is, that they meet for climbing. And there's also a really strong community of climbers in Plymouth, if you're not familiar with Plymouth. So there's lots of climbing centres indoors, there's lots of communities of people that go climbing outdoors. So there are really those extracurricular opportunities for like surfing, paddling, climbing, pretty much anything you could want to do. There are opportunities to do it and people to do those things with.
Brilliant, thanks Abigail. I know you do quite a lot of climbing yourself locally, don't you? Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I've only sort of got into it since moving down here and met lots of amazing people that enjoy going climbing, and there's lots of really cool places to climb down here.
Brilliant, thank you. And I'm going to go back to Saren quickly, and just on the topic of kind of contact hours, what do you do when you're not kind of within that contact with the lecturers? What's expected of you?
A lot of time in the library. The majority of it. Yeah, I think once, or at least on the outdoor adventure education course, once the practicals stop, it can be you then got a lot more time sort of before your essays are due in or before you have to do a presentation, where you need to sort of consolidate what you've learned in your practicals and your lectures, and get in the library and sort of produce your work. And although I try my hardest to do that alongside practicals as well, sometimes I find I just don't have the time. So it's really key once practicals are less to get that work done.
Brilliant, thank you. And Abigail, is there anything you wanted to add on to that one as well?
No, I just agree with Saren. Living in the library sometimes it feels like, but in a really good way. Like the library resources are really good, and like I said earlier, with rabbit holes of reading, I'll stand in front of a shelf and I'll be like, oh, that book looks good and that book looks good, and then suddenly you've got like 20 books in your hands and you're flicking through stuff and learning things. And then the lecturers are always so happy to talk to you about things that you've read and things that you've found and things that you've discovered or people that you've heard of. So yeah, I just think it's the sort of the independent study is for me just as exciting as the sort of lectures, because of as Saren said earlier, you know, you'll read something or you'll experience something and think, oh yeah, we talked about that, or oh, that links in with this, and it's really exciting and empowering to make those connections and start to realise that you're making those connections and sort of seeing the progress that you've made.
Brilliant, thank you. And I'm going to go back to Sue for this next one. What's the estimated course size? How many people are going to be roughly on the course, do you think?
I think that depends. So we're actually looking at really a cohort of 12 and above. So, you know, usually between 12 and 24. It's not a large cohort size, and it doesn't have to be. So we have our bespoke modules, you know, working in those smaller groups, but you join in. But the great thing is that you actually join in with other students as well from other programs. So there will be times when you're in a smaller group, there'll be times when you're in that slightly larger group, but yeah, so probably between you know, sort of 12 to 24 within that. And I guess some of the numbers like that is if you ever looked at organisations such as the British Schools Exploring Society, their group sizes are 12, and they call them fires because they did some research and said actually the maximum number of people ever around a campfire should be 12 for it to be a nice sociable experience.
Brilliant, thank you. And I think, Saren, following on from that, would I be able to just ask you, how have you found being on a smaller course?
I really enjoy it. We are a small cohort and you can get to know everyone really well. So the Outdoor Adventure Education course is just on its own for all its modules, so you get to know everyone really well, and I really like that. I think it makes it enjoyable and you can work with everyone and interact with everyone, which is a benefit.
Great, thank you. And Abigail, is there anything you want to share on your experience of working with smaller cohorts?
Yeah, I did the Outdoor Adventure Education degree before I started my MRes, but we had a group of 12 and I thought it was the perfect size for everybody to be part of one conversation. Like linking with the campfire, you know, everyone can talk and everyone can listen to each other, but it also meant that sort of I think 12 to 24 is ideal because everybody gets to know each other really well, but yet you're not sort of all crowded in. So there's enough, you know, everyone gets along, and then there's different groups to socialise with, and different people have got different interests. So there's a variety, but equally you still feel one group, and you feel like an individual instead of just one of many, many people.
Great, thank you. I've not had any more questions come up. Sue, have you got any final words you want to say before I close us?
That I think it's you know, go and explore a little bit more about the website. Go and explore a little bit more about Facebook. Go to some of the other talks to really get a feel for what Marjon is about and who we are. And I really look forward to reading your applications when they come in, which will be great. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Sue. And just to echo what Sue said, please do book onto other talks. If you are interested in kind of other course areas, if you're weighing up a couple of courses, you know, really do your research and make your decision well. And we're then really hopeful to look forward to meet you soon. If you do have any questions in the meantime, please do get in touch with Sue. I popped her email address in the Q&A box earlier on, so please just copy and paste that in, okay? And thank you very much for listening today. And if you do have any other talks you want to attend, please go onto the website marjon.ac.uk and look for the Marjon Live. Thank you.